Welcome back to Mid-Norfolk, and we're at the final stages really of this barn conversion that's been ongoing here for almost 18 months. It's an old agricultural building that's been converted into residential accommodation on the farm site. We really needed to do something with this quite urgently after really using it just for storage for the first 12 years that we lived here, but it had become quite derelict in parts and the roof was really starting to threaten coming in. So it's had a major rebuild, and we're just at the exciting stage now of starting to kit out some of the internal features. So let's take you in and give you a little bit of a tour of what's going on in this barn conversion. You can see we're still playing around with some light fittings in here. We've had first and second fit electrics put up, but we're not entirely happy with the fixtures that have gone in as the second fit. You can see these very modern spots really just don't work in here. We thought they were going to be okay, but we're now rethinking and putting more period brass features. You can see some of the bits we've bought here. This one was actually bought at auction. Somebody's documented where it was first bought from. Local piece, Kings Lynn, 1982. I do like these French style crystal chandeliers. Nice detailing around the upper aspect there. Going to need rewiring, but that's quite a simple job for most electricians. They're pretty easy to do, no difficult wiring to go through. A few of these drops were missing, but we at the antiques fair at the showground over the weekend luckily found the lady that sells all the spare crystals and managed to source quite a few spares, so we should be able to make that up so it's almost perfect. I've given it a good clean, and that's one option to come into this low hallway. We have to buy these tight things to actually hook them onto on the ceilings, but we also at the antiques fair purchased this little beauty. Again, heavy crystal, nice low drop. Needs a good clean up, but it's got some nice detailing on it. Only a single bulb, but I think that might work very well because our problem here is the headroom. As you can see, if I touch the ceiling, you'll see we're not full ceiling height in here, which means the drop that we've got here is really, before you start walking into things, maximum of around 5 to 6 inches, which is why the spots were initially put up. We've widened this hallway with 2 mirrors, again bought at auction several years ago and put in storage. We've got a rebuilt, it does look an old wall, but it's not actually. This is a new wall built out of old bricks that have been, I don't think they're reclaimed, these are an old looking modern brick. Period coat hack, again one of Kate's purchases from the auctions gone up on this wall. We're using this as sort of an entrance hall and bootway. This is probably just a temporary piece. This, the metal and wood seat, it works very, very well in here. And we've got a very narrow dresser base. Again, I think this is probably stained pine as opposed to, it could be a hardwood. Not entirely certain on my woods, but it fits that space absolutely perfectly. It's 6 foot exactly, just fills the area, and 2 lamps on there work very, very well. Let's go through into the main body of the barn. Again, in this area you can see log burners being fitted. We're starting to just play around with some of the furniture you've got. These 2 pieces actually are dresser bases, and we do have the dresser tops, but they don't sit on the dresser bases particularly well. They have to be screwed to the wall, and we've only just got the height in here, and we're thinking we may not use them, deciding whether to paint these bases or not, because they're not, again, the finest quality. They're extremely cheap buying bits of furniture like this at auction, but you do have to be aware of the condition of it if you're buying brown wood furniture. Just look, we have got a little bit of mould on this, and there was some woodworm in it, so these have all been treated while they've been in storage with a proprietary woodworm killer before they've come into the new barn. We're starting to dress this up, just playing around with a few things. This is definitely going to have some form of mirror on the back Don't think this one's quite right for it. It's a gorgeous old mirror which has actually come out of our dining room and been replaced by an over mantel mirror. It's got a nice warm patina to it, some age, and just look at the patina on the actual the glass itself. Not a beveled mirror. This might well be reproduction. They quite often do a pretty good job of doing this distressing with them. But it's got the patina of age. It looks the biz. Again, come through from auction, as did this little picture, which I just love. Not a particularly old piece. I think it probably is an original pencil drawing. We're on a sort of dogs and horses theme in this barn. Again, love these lights. Really gives a good warm glow in this corner, which is otherwise one of the darkest pieces of this barn. Going through into the entrance, you can see stone floors continue. This is where the period lighting we have got right, I feel. Lantern and a little French, almost imperial chandelier. Again, this is right under where the steps come down. So we needed something that wasn't particularly deep, and I think that's going to work really well. I haven't actually seen the full effect yet because we don't have the power switches through here. We're waiting for black switches. But if I look down through the barn, you can see gone to, well, trouble and expense of panelling out this ceiling to really get this stable-like effect. Got the original brickwork in this part of the barn, and also we're starting to introduce some horse-related features. Bought this saddle rack at a reclamation yard. They're quite easy to find actually on the Antiques Fair yesterday. There were half a dozen other things, usually in red. This is quite a nice one with a little bit more detailing than most of them. And I like the back plate on it. But we've just dressed that up with a few bits of tacker, bridle collar and some brasses. And then the saddle, again, they come through auction here in Norfolk pretty regularly. And that one cost me £5 at auction. I don't know anything about saddles. I chose it because of the detailing on it. I just love the colour and pattern of the leather, and it had a few little nice bits of brass detailing and some lines around it. But just as a feature to tie you in and feel like you're in an agricultural building, I think those are the type of things that will give some character to this barn. You see, we're still waiting some little bits of electrics. Let's go back through in here. Don't think that French table light's quite right there. It's too small on this. We're still playing around with the lighting here. As you can see, these pieces, we're trying to decide, this is going to be the position of the table. Now that isn't the dining table. We're looking for something around 9 foot to go in this space, and we want something quite wide. The reason we want something quite wide is that we do want to replace this modern temporary light fitting with one of these two beauties. We're sort of undecided which way to go with this. This one again came through auction, ram's head, old-fashioned bit of brass with some absolutely gorgeous detailing on it. It's an uplighter though. It's going to need a bit of rewiring. There's no wiring in it at all, but these things all unscrew, so although you can be put off by wondering whether you're ever going to get them working, it's worth a punt with these because they're not expensive to buy at auction because most people are put off by that risk. But on the Antiques Fair yesterday, we bought this gorgeous thing. A downlighter. Lost its covers, but that's not a particularly hard find. You just got to measure, and you can, in this day, maybe not even put a cover on it, but we may just put some of these fancy LED bulbs into it. Our problem is the length of it. Now, these things can be reduced in size quite easily if you've got the right tools. This one's actually been soldered here, but all these sections will unscrew. But if I hold this up, you can see why we're going to have to get the position right, because in this room, that's touching the ceiling, and that's its height that it will be over the table. So it needs to be bang smack in the middle of the table so nobody's going to hit their heads on it. But as a downlighter and a feature, if the table's going to be fixed in position, that is a gorgeous piece of antique brass. The other option is to go down the modern route again with a nice piece of, that's Jim Lawrence, that one, a leftover from the previous barns that we've done here. So still very much playing with the lighting in here. In the main body of the barn and the kitchen, well, it's a Marmite piece or decision here. We've gone mid to late 20th century brass, and it looks very stark until it's dressed up, but then as soon as you start fiddling with it, and I think what we're going to do is more of this with these mixed harlequin sets of lights. And if I just pop these on, you'll see just how effective that is. Probably not going to pick it up particularly well. That big dresser top, again, probably Victorian or possibly even Georgian. It's got some beautiful detailing on it. Not the right colour for this barn, which is unfortunate because it's got a beautiful, look at the pattern on that paintwork. I'd just love to be able to keep that, but it's not going to be the right colour. It needs a lot of work just to get that into a good condition, but I'm not going to be scared to paint that and experiment with some of the colour that we want to use in this kitchen. You see, this is going to be the kitchen area. The base units are all going to be fitted to hold the appliances and cookers, fridges, freezers and those type of things. But that, I think, is going to go on that wall, painted probably in Castel pink by little green. And I think that will give us the effect, the period effect with the back panelling that we absolutely love, and bring that through into here and start tying this design together. We're going to go and see what light lampshades we can find around the village today. If you're not looking for any specific combination, and I just love this little mismatch of shapes, sizes and colours with the brass on the back plates. I mean, it's very much our style and a vintage style, not something you can go out and buy quickly or easily or reproduce from any shops, because they just don't necessarily put this together unless you do it yourself. But we've got a long run of lights here. I don't like what we've done at the moment with them all in the same shades, so we're going to mix those all up and hopefully get more of this effect along here. But it diffuses the light really nicely and should give us a beautiful evening light, or a task lighting certainly in the kitchen area. And then more table lamps all around this area as we gradually now have the fun part of sourcing some pieces of furniture and starting to dress this barn. Thanks for watching.